reasons.
President Trump talking about his push to reopen classrooms in the fall and also threatening to withhold federal funding from those schools that don't open their doors. My next guest says the debate over school safety is stirring up too much hysteria. Dr. Scott Atlas. He's from Stanford University's Hoover Institution and is the former neurology chief at Stanford Medical Center. Thank you for being here, because we're trying to have a real conversation about how we get this done. It's in the best interest of everyone to have our kids get back into the classroom safely. So the first question is, can we do it?
Good morning, Sandra. Well, thanks for having me. Yes, of course we can do it. Everyone else in the world, in the Western world, our peer nations are doing it. We are the outlier here. And why are they doing it? Because the same reasons we should. Number one, we know at this point, if you believe in the science says that the 99.97% of deaths in the U.S. are in people over 15. 99.9% are in people over 24. The hospitalization rate for influenza, according to the CDC, is much greater, quote unquote, than from COVID-19 for children. The JAMA pediatric study, 46 hospitals in North America, pediatric hospitals, quote, the risk of a critical illness from COVID-19 is far less than from seasonal influenza, unquote. There is virtually zero risk to children for getting something serious or dying from this disease. Anyone who thinks schools should be closed is not talking about the risk to children. That's factually true, and they should say that. It has nothing to do with the children's risk. Now let's talk about the risk to teachers. The teachers are, because this is probably the big fear here, obviously. The teachers, first of all, are a young population in the United States. K through 12 teachers, half of them are under 41, 82% are under 55. These are not high-risk age groups. We know this by now. And it's true that there are high-risk teachers, and those teachers should be able to believe in their social distancing and masks like they do for every other essential business. When they go to the grocery store, for instance, they can teach using social distancing. And if they're still afraid, they can stay at home. There's no reason to lock up the children. I'd like to talk about the harms to the children. The harms to the children are never in the discussion for some bizarre reason.
You mean the harms if we don't send them back to school?
The harms to the children for closing schools. Excuse me. Thanks for correcting me. Yes, I mean, this is the biggest problem of all. Yet again, we're going to commit some severe public policy without regard for the harms of the policy. Children are not just learning from, first of all, long-distance learning is a failure. 50% drop in math ability, 30% drop in reading ability. Half the kids, or 20 to 50% of kids, don't even log on. This distance learning is not going to work. But besides that, the most important things that kids learn are other things like social interactions, like maturation, like learning to deal with groups, group conflict. You can't learn that on a computer. Moreover, the schools are where we learn that kids need a hearing aid.
But Dr. Atlas, to be clear, while you are saying how important it is to get kids back into school and do so safely, you are encouraging that CDC guidance be followed, that there's mask wearing, social distancing, and all of the precautions that they're recommending?
Not for children. That would be irrational. Children, it doesn't matter if children get the disease. They don't get sick from this. And the data shows that they do not significantly transmit to adults. And this is data.
But
this is not a
isn't the point to stop the spread? And I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but I mean, the science shows that mask wearing stops the spread of the disease. And don't we have a collective duty in this country to stop the spread?
There's no rational reason or science to say that children transmit the disease significantly. In fact, there's data to the contrary. You either believe in the science or you say you believe in the science and act contrary to science. The science says, and this is data from Iceland, Sweden, Switzerland, the Netherlands, France, the UK, Australia, Canada, Ireland, everywhere in Germany, everywhere in the Western world has shown that children do not transmit significantly to adults, even their own parents, and that teachers are not at higher risk of getting a disease like this disease from children. You either believe the science or not. You can't insist you believe in the science and then act contrary to science. And by the way, like I said, we are the only country not opening schools. This is absurd. I get thousands of emails.
So what are you suggesting then? I mean, the president says that politics are at play for keeping kids home and other harsh restrictions that we're seeing across the country. Do you believe that?
I believe that there is zero reason, in fact, zero excuse to not have the schools open in person. The Hospital for Sick Kids in Toronto, one of the world's best hospitals, just delineated this. Schools must be in person, no masks, no spacing, because children are not at risk. If you believe that there should be some kind of restriction on schools, you're not talking about children.
But Doctor, it's a fascinating conversation. I don't mean to cut you off, but there's so many things to talk about there, because there are kids who fall into the high-risk category. There are kids with asthma. How do you protect them?
Well, of course, I'm not. Okay, there is a small minority of children that are at high risk, and those kids need to be protected. That's always true. Let me put it this way. Seasonal influenza is more risky for children, more than COVID-19. Seasonal influenza is transmitted from children to the high-risk adults who are teachers every year. Seasonal influenza in California, the percent of deaths in children was 5.4%. 0 kids have died from COVID-19. If teachers think that they can't work during this, then they absolutely must say that we have to close schools from November through April.
All right, but what we don't know is how this is going to interact with the flu season, and that's what Dr. Redfield is warning. Listen to him, and I'll get your thoughts on the other side. Listen.
I do think the fall and the winter of 2020 and 2021 are going to be probably one of the most difficult times that we've experienced in American public health because of what you said, the co-occurrence of COVID and influenza.
So, Dr. Atlas, how do you respond to that? We don't know what an entire flu season looks like combined with COVID-19. And as Dr. Fauci continually warns, there's so much that we still don't know about this disease and the spread of the disease. Doesn't that concern you, putting all these kids back into the classroom together?
I find it bizarre that people focus on some kind of statement, we don't know everything. We don't know everything about any single disease. We know a massive amount. It is proven that children have no significant risk. It is proven that influenza is worse than this for children. It is proven that children don't transmit significantly to adults. That's proven. Why do we keep saying, but we don't know X? People insist it's all about the science, and then we go and irrationally endanger, destroy our children because it's not about the science.
We're at the mercy of the medical experts that are obviously advising the president, advising the top levels of our government on all of this, Dr. Atlas. Dr. Anthony Fauci is being taken on by the president's own economic advisor in this new piece published in USA Today. He's basically saying Fauci's been wrong about everything that he's interacted with him on. When you ask me whether I listen to Dr. Fauci's advice, my answer is only with skepticism and caution. So are you saying that Dr. Fauci's advice, are you disregarding what we're hearing from those top medical experts advising the president?
I'm saying look at the science. I'm saying use critical thinking and logic. Certain things are known. If you don't believe that in the science, then stop saying you believe in the science. The science says open the schools. The science says there's no risk to children. The science says teachers are not at risk if they go to school. Listen, either schools are an essential business in this country or they're not. I don't understand why people don't take into account the severe harms of not having schools. Isn't that what public policy is all about? To weigh what you're doing, not just stopping COVID-19 at all costs. If we start acting out of fear and are an outlier in this country's finished.
Well, Dr. Fauci, to be clear, is saying we should try as a default to get the kids to stay in school. However, that's going to vary according to where you are in the country and the dynamics of any outbreaks as they happen. It's a fascinating conversation. We want our kids to get back in school. We need them to be educated and socialized. Dr. Atlas, we appreciate your thoughts this morning. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for having me.
All right, John.